Africa faces disproportionate costs of climate change. Africa bears disproportionately high costs related to climate change. Every year, countries in the region lose between 2 to 5% of their GDP due to the impacts of climate change, and the cost of climate adaptation in sub-Saharan Africa is estimated to be between $30 billion and $50 billion annually, which represents 2 to 3% of the region's GDP. The economic losses are compounded by the human toll that climate change takes on the population. By 2030, up to 118 million people living below the poverty line in Africa will be vulnerable to droughts, floods, and extreme heat, all of which will exacerbate the ongoing humanitarian crisis. These extreme weather events not only disrupt livelihoods, but also contribute to the displacement of people and the deterioration of infrastructure, creating further challenges to poverty alleviation efforts. One of the most pressing issues is the fact that Africa is experiencing climate change at a rate faster than the global average. While global temperatures have been rising steadily, African countries, particularly those in the sub-Saharan region, have seen a disproportionate increase in heat, droughts, and other extreme weather events. This accelerated warming is putting enormous pressure on already fragile ecosystems, agriculture, and infrastructure. The region is highly dependent on agriculture, which is particularly vulnerable to climate change, and as a result, the livelihoods of millions of people are at risk. In 2023 alone, Africa experienced record-breaking heat waves, devastating floods, and violent cyclones, which caused widespread destruction and loss of life. These events highlighted the vulnerability of the region to the intensifying effects of climate change. Moreover, the occurrence of such extreme events in a short period of time points to an alarming trend that could worsen in the coming decades. The frequency and intensity of climate-related disasters are expected to increase, further deepening the region's social and economic challenges. The impacts of climate change in Africa are not only felt in the immediate aftermath of natural disasters, but also in the long-term consequences for food security, water availability, and overall human health. Droughts, which are becoming more frequent, reduce crop yields and put pressure on water resources, while floods overwhelm infrastructure and cause soil erosion. These effects contribute to malnutrition and the spread of diseases, further straining health systems in the region. The urgency of addressing climate change in Africa cannot be overstated. Immediate action is needed to bolster resilience and adapt to the changing climate. To cope with these challenges, African countries require significant financial support for climate adaptation. However, the funding gap remains substantial, and there is a pressing need for global cooperation to provide the resources necessary for these countries to build resilience and reduce vulnerability. Without substantial financial and technological assistance, the impacts of climate change will continue to hinder the region's development, deepen poverty, and destabilize communities. The region's vulnerability to climate-related disasters and the economic strain caused by these events call for both immediate and long-term solutions to ensure that Africa can adapt to the changing climate and mitigate further damage. Strengthening the resilience of communities and investing in climate adaptation are crucial steps toward safeguarding Africa's future.